So what we need from you guys is to comment, give your point of view, give your perspective, even on the place of what we should discuss in the future, right?
Yeah.
We need to hear from you because we need to know what's important to you. What are the things that are happening in your groups, like the organizations you belong to, the community groups you belong to? What are y'all talking about? Because that is important to us as well, and we want to make sure we bring that home. So we've been doing a lot of history, right, to give you the basis of where a lot of our thinkings are coming from, our positions.
Yeah.
But now we can get to the fun stuff and talk about some of these current events,
And
right?
and
so we need to touch into that, and we know we've done it a few times tonight, but that's what we need from you. So don't just watch, don't just like, comment.
Exactly.
We need to hear from you. We want to see your thoughts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Safe House, a podcast based on exploring masculinity from various perspectives. Masculinity seems to be defined by others with outside agendas. There's a need to have safe space conversations that everyone is allowed to witness. There have been certain misnomers that propel societal groups to assume that masculinity is a pejorative. We would like to invite the listeners into a judgment-free zone as various topics on the subject of masculinity are explored, researched, and expressed.
Episode 5.
The nickel.
Safe House. I'm Brother Musab Yassir Bey, a.k.a. Freddy Jones, a.k.a. the Blue Collar Scholar.
And I am Brother Interesting. And you can kick it off.
And this is the 5th episode of Safe House. Now, I made some polemical statements last show about feminists. And I want to double down on some things. But before I double down on it, I want to kind of state my position and these two vehicles
as you've been doing for the last few episodes.
Yeah, but we got to do it because, a lot of people will come back around and say, hey, you seem like, but we're going to double down on, we're never going to leave from the mission statement, my mission statement. So my goal is to underscore all the colluding forces of black males, incest, and oppression. Highlight the metastasizing effects of white supremacy and the stringent nature of anti-black male misandry in America. To employ black men to liaise politically, economically, and socially with each other as a duty to black boys and create a countervailing force against our oppression here in America and abroad. Now, as a black masculinist, because I'm a black masculinist in this space, I advocate for the rights and needs of black men and black boys first, because like the biblical pericope Matthews 20 to 40 and 45 say, whatsoever you do to the least of your brothers and sisters, you do unto me. And since we're the bottom caste of the bottom casted black men, serves as the dialectic of my interest.
Absolutely. And so my perspective or my mission is in support of black love, black prosperity, through the avocation of black men, which I think to be the most vulnerable group on the planet. And the most attacked, the most mistreated, and then the most revered.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I think in that effort, that builds up black unity.
Well, it says a lot when the brother from the ADOS movement, he's the first one to point out that, and it's Antonio Moore, attorney out of LA, ADOS co-founder. He says that there's more black men in jail in America than it is women locked up worldwide. There's over 4.5 billion women in the world. And we got more black men locked up in America than it is women worldwide. It's like maybe 200 or some thousand women, but it's like 1 point something million men. So when you say that, this is kind of adding the data to that to see where the misandry, the anti-black male misandry is when we're to disabuse people of the notion that you guys are being hyperbolic about what you're saying.
And even to tap into that without, needing to touch into, the status or the status of women. our life expectancy rates here in the United States are similar to places in the Middle East that are in a war zone. So we are talking about it, something that is considered criticality over there, yet same numbers, same conditions in a lot of different spaces, yet there doesn't seem to be an urgency for our own advocacy by ourselves. And so what I plan to do with this is to kind of close the door and settle some stuff and come out with a political agenda, a social agenda that suits our needs, and by default that improves black families without question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, you would think that there would be common sense, but this is where we're at with it. The well has been poisoned, and I wanted to highlight where it was poisoned at. Now, we talk about the feminist movement, right?
Yep.
And we closed in.
Great detail.
Yeah, and we closed in on the first, second, third, and fourth wave. Now, I made some polemical statements last, and I'm gonna double down on it. I'm doubling down on it because the well was poisoned, and black feminists are the lapdogs of white feminists, and this became so. And this is how I buttress this is when I immerse myself and ensconce myself in the study of feminism. So now I consider myself an adept in it. Now one may disagree with my scathing or acerbic views on the facts of the history.
Yeah, of course.
But I have my views on history. Yeah. So I like to give it to you straight, no chase, what the history was.
For example, what would you say then to someone that says, are you saying then advocacy for black women shouldn't exist?
No.
Because that's what the interpretation can be considered in so many different circles.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when you help us, you by default help the race. I mean, when the least of the people are suffering, then that's what it is. When people from other countries come and study the economic conditions of people, the first thing they do, and I know you know this, but the first thing they do, I don't give a fuck if you're Chinese economist, Manchurian economist, you come into the space to see who's doing the worst, and you move up from there. You study the economic and see who's doing and how they're being treated by their government.
Yeah, no, and I think, there are some highlights there, right? Like when you talk about, you mentioned it, the prison pipeline.
Yeah.
When you talk about the prison pipeline, that's a unique pathway exclusive to black men.
Exactly.
Without question. And I don't think anyone can show us data that argues that point.
Yeah.
So it's then when we're talking about advocacy for criminals, inmates, why is it not synonymous with helping black men? It should be. We're the most populous,
exactly.
So it should be in terms of percentage.
You know what I don't like, man? And it's a bunch of shit I don't like.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought your nickname was going to be grievances.
Hey, but what I don't like is that this foregrounding with black women, and to show you what type of brothers we are as as a race of brothers. Now, it's a bunch of things that we have shortcomings in because of the astringent nature of white supremacy. But whenever we talk about police violence, we talk it in an overlapping tone, right? It affects everybody, but it don't. But we do it because. But on the other end of that, let's just say women get killed by the police 9 to 12 women a year. Brothers get killed 200 to 300 a year. But yet brothers and everybody painted as police violence. On the other end of the spectrum, breast cancer, men get 2% of that and die of it. But we never look at breast cancer as a male situation.
And to be fair, right?
Yeah.
Like when you look at the advocacy of police brutality, I want to say that there have been significant amount of black women that have stepped up and marched on behalf of black men. I mean, you could honestly say that effort wasn't as strong for Breonna, wasn't as strong for
that's
Sandra.
an understatement.
So there are instances where the improprietary piece of that can paint different narratives, but I think what we're here is to dispel those false narratives. Because
Well, when you say things like that, this is the thing that gets me, because there are women. Look, when I say things, we know that it's women that advocate for this space. What I'm saying is, but
it's important.
But we have to never suspend our critical apparatus in approaching any subject matter. We know that is sometimes you could come across a lion he ate, and he's not going to eat you.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, lions, you have to watch out for lions.
Yeah, and no doubt for it. But what I'm actually arguing too, though, is that's normally the tactic of what other people do when they're advocating for their groups, right?
Yeah.
They omit a lot of different things, and so then people get a laser focus on what you omitted, and then the conversation becomes what you omit.
Gotcha.
Nah, not gonna let you do that. Not gonna let you do that, because you know what I'm saying. Like, I feel as though there's a way more collaborative effort on those frontal lines of how we talk about police brutality. But I do think the imagery is black man. However, we aren't using those terms. We aren't saying the word.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so even though we see Trayvon Martin, we see the brother Philando, Castile, and the guy who just they just arrested, just sentenced the guy Chauvin. So we do have the imagery there, but we aren't using the terms. So for example, right, BLM. From my brief research, I have not seen an advocacy of specifically calling out black men as being a victim of police brutality.
Yeah.
Yet they are at these different things for black men. You're not calling it specifically for what it is, and that is to me an issue.
And that's what I want to call it what it is. And I'm glad you brought up BLM.
Yeah.
The thing is about being on code. So we can't sit up here and play little Pippi Longstocking games. When black women want to get some shit accomplished, they do. We watched them get a whole sorority reality show cut off because it painted them the wrong way. They were all on code. You remember that?
Yeah, for sure.
They were all on code on that.
Yeah.
They got the bullshit show called The Game, the football show. They brought that back after being canceled for 2 or 3 years. So we know the power. I'm saying that if there is a critical mass of women that are advocating like that, we know what it looks like when y'all move on code, because y'all really on code on the things y'all need to be on code on.
And so that's my point here. So that's what this is.
Yeah.
Creating the necessity of us at all of these different tables.
Exactly.
We don't have that power.
Yeah.
We aren't utilizing that power. We are disjointed, discombobulated, and we act like we don't even know what the North Star looks like. And that is what this place is about. It's about creating the environment of being able to say, that's the North Star. We have communal, we have a collective understanding on that, and we're going to march toward it.
I like what you just said.
I believe in that.
I like that.
Think about this, right? Even in corporate America, minority women cannot move up in corporate America without aligning themselves with a power broker black woman. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Because they have usurped themselves in such a strong and visible way that you need to align with them.
Yeah.
The advocacy for them is advocating for your own survival.
Exactly.
We do not get that from our male counterparts
Gotcha.
and minorities, Indian men, Hispanic men, Asian men.
Yeah.
There is no need to work with us.
Yeah.
So we have to create that need. We have to become the force that we know is in us, right? We have to create that. And so that means, for a second, we gotta isolate.
So that's why
we gotta isolate, create.
But that's why I'm glad you said what you said. So I look at this
and
show.
not look to anybody else to say this. I'm not
Exactly, and that's
no
why
savior role. Yeah,
that's
no
why
savior role.
Look,
we are
I'm
our own
saying
savior.
that we need to get together and liaise together. So I look at this show, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't look at this as a female show. If you watch it, you watch. You don't. I think that it would behoove you to watch it. I would, deep in my heart, I want you to watch it. But like I said before, I look at it as a mic. I'm calling it a huddle.
Yeah.
We're calling it a huddle.
Yeah.
This is a mic'd up huddle, and it would behoove women to pierce inside of it to hear.
And it's important because there are going to be things that are not going to be politically correct.
Yeah.
There are going to be things because we're talking to an audience that needs to wake up.
Yeah.
And that sounding call, sounding that alarm, might mean some things. Is like your alarm is not a sweet sound, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not a violin, it's not a harp. It's
Yeah.
That's what we. And so sometimes it's gonna sound different to someone outside of the community. That's fine. You outside of it. This is for black men. We are talking to you now. If you want the opportunity to understand your brother, your father, your sons in a different way, tune in. But if that's not, a focus of yours, by all means, do you. And I'm sure Pathway Crossroads will connect as we are trying to ultimately, right, be for black advocacy. They'll cross. But for right now, we're in a critical space.
You're so needed in this space because I'm a little bit more brusque and acerbic with my approach. You know what I'm saying? Because
I'm not as jaded. That's real.
But I'm tired of the fucking around. You know what I'm saying? At this point, let's jump it off. BLM. I want to start off by saying peace be upon the brothers as past, the original members of BLM, Darren Seals, DeAndre Joshua, Marshawn Carroll, Edward Crawford, and Dane Jones, who really died in battle before the Patrice Cullors, Elisa Garza, Tamika Mallory, all of these mixed bags of charlatans jumped into the movement and were there by day. As if you go online and listen to Darren Seals' last video phone interview, he was saying in his 20-minute interview this is the things that's going on. BLM has taken over. They're pushing more LGBTQ, this, that, and the third. And on top of that, they're here in the day when the TVs and the media is here, but at night we're getting killed and they not getting hit with these smoke bombs and shit.
And
like
I think it's important to name this too. Yeah. There are brothers in the LGBTQ diaspora or designation that understand the importance of black first.
Yeah,
and that's important. Because they're not all wrapped up in this one umbrella of race comes secondary. Because they understand that that's not how treatment works.
Exactly.
That's not how they're treated on with police, with trying to find justice through the justice through the justice system, etc. Like when they're treated, they know that they're treated for black first and then secondary.
Yeah. So when I think of BLM, it takes me to a time because there are anti-black male misandry of the heads of it, who's now sipping wine in the vineyard, taking pictures. And that's COINTELPRO operations because they're winning now, and they feel, and they're even interviewing saying that we deserve this. It disgusts me. It makes me dyspeptic, but I don't want to go into that. I want to.
And you know why you can't? Because you can't rip apart. You can't separate capitalism from that.
Yeah.
Market capitalism is at the root of a lot of these different things. So even they have commoditized and sold
merchandise, but black
freedom
debt,
fighting.
but black male debt, squeezing the equity fighting out of black male debt. Like let's get down to the nitty gritty.
And so when I say they, I am talking about the systems that be, right. So if you don't believe in systematic racism, cut this off. This ain't for you, because we wholeheartedly know that exists and have too much data to prove that it does.
Exactly.
So from that perspective, it's anything that mirrors what's acceptable by these systems most likely is not going to benefit you as a person on the bottom cast.
Yeah.
It's not for you. It's eventually going to serve the purpose it's meant to serve. So that goes for all these nonprofits making bringing in a ton of money, all this other stuff. It's going to start looking like question, right? When people think of Red Cross, do you think of benefit or do you think of abuse?
Good question.
30% of the funds going to administrative costs. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think will happen in something that is advocating for prison reform or against police brutality? Eventually, they mature into the same things.
Yeah.
Live all the way live, I bet you never knew that Houston, we in the house. So where we from, Houston.
This is Flash Gordon Parks, you're listening to Soul One, peaceofmind.com.
I'm saying it makes it more delicious when it's extracting the equity out of black males, that because this country bathes in black male misandry, and it's always charlatans that's lurking outside of the corners like alligators waiting for wildebeest to cross over the river. Now I'm saying this because I want to go back to where I noticed that these actions had a golden thread or a pattern. And it took me back to the National Black Feminist Movement in the early 1970s. And it was a movement, and it was a conference that they had that they broke apart because they couldn't agree on dealing with white women. Now, here's the rub, because I say black feminists are the lapdogs of white feminists. Their quarrel and their squabble was why we shouldn't work. One side was like, we should work with white women. The other side, well, we shouldn't. Hence the Cohumbi River Collective with our girl Barbara Smith, the chick that was arguing with Ishmael Reed on Tony Brown Journal. You remember. She joined a group of 30 women, a lot of them are lesbians, and they formed the Cohumbi River Collective to break away from the national black feminist movement, to say that these white women ain't da-da-da-da-da. So in 77, you see a push towards a more radicalized Cohumbi River Collective, where they were using black power PowerPoints to write their edicts, yet shitting on black men. Now, their thing was to tell the national black women of feminist movement that we're not fucking with y'all because we don't trust white women. Yet, CIA agent Gloria Steinem was still in their ear, giving them directive in Gloria Allred, still giving them the marching orders on how to move about it.
And I think from a maybe higher a bird's eye viewpoint, if the system isn't trying to destroy you and it is aiding you, you should question it.
Exactly.
If you're not questioning that, then I feel as though you're being naive about who is in front of you as an enemy.
Yeah.
Because it's not designed for that. It's not designed to help you find liberation. I
always say black women in this country, because of the social tinkering. I wrote about this in my new article on MoorishEmperor.com.
Oh yeah, they need to check that out.
Yeah,
it's very good
it's
read.
called Home is Where the Hatred Is, and the new one just dropped.
It's got my brother blocked
messenger.
on a couple of places.
Yeah, exactly. But I wrote about the social tinkering and the tabulated demographers and everything that went into. I'm saying that black women are a breeding ground for opportunists. And women take advantage, and white women have taken advantage of this over the time. So whenever black women try to get together and do their own thing, they come in and then they start tinkering.
And if that's too abrasive for someone to digest, think about the progress of light-skinned folks, right, in this country, and trying to become mulatto, and a whole different designation when WB, when he was young, trying to apply for a different designation to the U.S. government because he wanted a different treatment than what black people were typically receiving. When there are going to be people who believe that they need the support of the system in order to find the promised land. Yeah. And there's going to be people who think you got to tear down the system.
Yeah.
You got to find out where you lay on that.
Yeah.
And that, to me, sends you in different directions. Because one is saying that I believe the same system that put me in this position is somehow going to be the vehicle to get me out of it. And another one is saying,
notion.
Another one is saying, screw the vehicle.
Yeah.
But there are promises. You know, it's a privilege to say either one of them, right? Like it's one to say, okay, forget the vehicle. But if you are financially secure and safe and everything else, then you're okay with that. Yeah. If you hungry on the streets, you starving.
Something different.
Compromising makes sounds way more beautiful.
I always go back to the moral imperative, and we started off.
That's why you got to get it for self.
Yeah,
getting for self is your true locking to freedom,
and that's what I'm calling for now. This may be a little bit radical. It's not radical to me, but it may be a little bit radical when I say this, because we got a lot of simps out there who just can't get over the
simp episode.
Yeah, well, we need to do a simp episode. Yeah, we need to know what's a simp and what's not a simp. We need to go to the etymology of simp.
Yeah, we should.
Simpatico. You know what I'm saying? We need to go into the depth. But what I'm saying is when you start this thing out and you know that feminist movement started off of upper class rich white women, they didn't give a fuck about nothing else because the patriarchy and masculinity started with upper class rich white men that own land. Then when you go down and you get these women arguing about something that started off as a white supremacist suffrage Elizabeth Cady Stanton movement, it's always going to have these little kinks in it because it wasn't meant for you. I keep saying it. It's like us getting up and saying we're going to start our own white supremacist organization, call it the Black Supremacists, and we're going to change it up and we're going to do it. It's never going to end up right because I was always taught that a thing can't be other than what it originated as. You're going to always have problems whenever you try to repurpose movements like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to follow the thought. In the occultism is called the egregore, where people concentrate on one thing and they make it come to life. It's the concentrated thought. When you follow the thought, then you follow the direction where it's going in. When you try to disattach a movement or an idea from the people that created it and you try to do something else with it, it ain't your shit.
Yeah, it's the essence. It's the essence.
But that's what it boils down to.
And truthfully, right, if you're talking about freedom in this country, there shouldn't be anyone helping make that decision but us. Exactly. And if anyone is at the table, then that's opportunity for you to be misled, bringing other agendas.
A breeding ground for opportunists.
For sure.
A breeding ground. So
it gets back to your point. Yeah, for sure.
So this is what I want to say. The Black feminist movement, the Cohumbi River Collective, what they ultimately, because what I urge people to do is Google the Cohumbi River Collective statement,
it's and then
and when you read it, it sounds good on its prima facie, on its face, but it has a lot of contradictory statements in it because they say that they want to liaise with black men of a certain type of class. It gets shaky when they're talking because they talk black liberation points, but when they get to black men, boom. So the essence of black feminism is racism. They're fighting against racism. I ain't got no problem with that. But where it gets murky and the waters get muddy is they let white women trick them out of fighting for racism to tell them that sexism was more important.
And no doubt, some women adopted that, and I think we are given full appreciation of what benefits come with adopting that. Like there are some fruits that come with that. There's some nectar that come along with following
that.
Because they're aligning yourself with black men. Let's say I'm magically not black, outside looking in. What is the benefit?
Yeah.
There is none.
Yeah.
There is none dealing with the bottom caste. That has to be ingrained in your spirit. It has to be something you really believe.
So this is
my life could be easier if I wasn't an advocate for black men.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
there's no money there. That's why we have so many people like James Clyburn in fucking South Carolina.
And you about to touch on something really important.
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about, a really good explanation of this. And granted, there have definitely been I think abuses in this regard, but Nation of Islam, they teach self-reliance and building, because you need a business in order to not need the money to fund whatever your activities are. If you have to go hand in mouth to someone else, then you got to adopt what they want, what they think, and once that happens, that's the linchpin to me. Like that's when everything goes left.
Well, I agree. I concur. Now, with black feminism, their whole point was racism, sexism, heterosexual, class oppression, and just to simply put, white people. This is what they said, and I'm gonna be honest. They said white people are racist.
This is on their.
This is the Cohumbi River Collective, and this is the thought and the essence of black feminism that permeated even women that don't call themselves feminists.
This is written. They look this up. They can see this.
This is written. But not only that, I'm saying that even when women don't call themselves feminists, they make songs like "Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You got to have a J-O-B if you want. I don't want no scrubs. Scrubs is. Can you pay my bills?" They're not calling themselves feminists. They asked TLC were they feminists on Arsenio Hall show, and they said we're not feminists.
That shit is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Can we pay your bills? But we don't have no money and we broke and we aren't worth working with. Which one is it? You asking a homeless man to take care of you? I don't understand it. Man. So either one, we aren't that.
Yeah. But you see,
and you
but
like being
these are
taken
the
care of,
this-
or you know what I'm saying?
but
Like the
the-
narrative don't add
But
up.
these are the mixed bag of nuts that create the Tamika Mallory. Because I call her a mixed bag, but she's a mix because of that. You know what I'm saying? This cognitive dissonance. Now, but the problem comes is they said that white people are racist, but all men are patriarchs and benefit off of patriarchy.
Yeah, and I struggle with that statement because
I don't.
Well, the reason I struggle with that statement is because, in a micro sense, maybe in a home, maybe, but on a macro
But-
level, no.
Yeah,
Like
no,
where? How?
But I'm glad you said
Where's
that.
the proof?
I'm glad
You say we aren't doing what you're doing.
But I'm
in
glad you said
education.
that.
You say we aren't doing what you're doing in economics. So then, where is the pay? When can I benefit? Can I cash in my paycheck?
So I'm glad you said that on a micro because those.
Not that I would.
But no, but what I'm saying is that we've had these group discussions with a bunch
Yeah.
of brothers.
Yeah, we have.
That's even the
Absolutely.
academic.
And sisters.
So what I'm saying is when you say it on a micro, that shit don't fucking count. Like, okay, I'm being patriarch because I don't want you to be a pastor of a church. It don't matter. What I'm saying is if black men
It
are
matters to me,
no,
but
you know,
whatever.
it don't matter
It
in the
matters.
grand scheme of things overall in the macro because we don't call any shots here. We don't own any business to stop them from getting
You
shit.
can't use the micro to
Exactly.
paint a macro picture.
That's my
100%.
point.
But
So-
still, I feel as though if
So-
you are doing that, you are stupid.
Yeah.
and you need to let women
But
lead.
like the
that's
brother,
stupid. to
like
me,
the brother
for
Tommy
sure.
Curry, Dr. Tommy Curry said
Yeah.
that if black men are patriarchs,
Or
we're
get
the,
out the way,
we're
really.
the worst patriarchs in the history of patriarchs because we don't run nothing. We don't own nothing. We don't run nothing. We don't build. We don't have no distribution. No nothing. So that's what I'm saying. That these are the asinine or vacuous statements that they were making. But this is what.
And I think to your point, if we are saying that patriarchy stems from Eurocentric ideals and their ancestry and ethnicity, then at the same time, what that means is, in order to attack males of different origins, you're going to break them away from patriarchy in any form or fashion. So realize there's that undercurrent. Everything that happens and is getting done is for the guise of getting you away from patriarchy so that you can't rise up in the way that they have,
But
in their own system.
So
Patriarchy is only supposed to work.
But
That's the design.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is, when the Cohombi River Collective is saying this, they're saying this as a political cudgel or a political flog to be able to get what they to say. All men are patriarchs. We at the first show we did, we talked about gender.
Yeah, we did.
Male, female, and neutered. That's the original definition. The black men in this country are politically neutered, economically neutered, socially neutered. It's no way we could be patriarchs. There's no way we can practice patriarchy when the real patriarchs just shot down Roe versus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's complicated, and I think I actually we're gonna share that video. I think we should do it on our handle. The video I shared where the black woman who's a psychologist was apologizing for some various things.
Yeah.
And I think we should put that out there for food for thought. But yeah, it's a privileged standpoint to go. It doesn't matter because if you're getting punched in your household, that's all you can fathom. That's a immediate reality.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean that that's the reality as a macro. That doesn't make it the reality of everyone.
Exactly.
And it's hard to separate the two. I get it. I get it's
But
hard.
these are the
and this is the same thing that white people struggle with. They say, "Oh, I'm not racist in my life. I'm not doing anything to anyone." And yeah, you may not be on a micro direct level, but that doesn't mean you aren't benefiting on some kind of macro level.
I like that example.
That doesn't mean that.
That was a great analogy.
It's the scoundrels and numbskulls make it hard to make a point about various macro issues, but when we keep getting back to the macro, you have to throw your micro out. It doesn't mean your personal experiences don't matter. It doesn't mean that they're discounted.
But I don't
it
like
doesn't add up.
But that's
it doesn't sum up.
You did it.
Yeah.
That you hit it because antidotes don't equal data. Yeah. I'm not discarding your what you've been through.
And think about what party does that the most. Joe the plumber. Where he at? Huh? Okay, so this is a tactic that you're borrowing from a group that does this. Yeah. What I think it was Laura Monahan. She literally said that when that Roe versus Wade thing came out, she said Roe versus Wade. She was talking about the student loan forgiveness debt. She said, "I graduated, blah blah blah. Helped my mom. My mom helped me pay my student loans off into her 70s, or she basically tried to tell this anecdotal story. When people reviewed her background." He was like, "Wait, you clerking for some justices? You still got your mama helping you for student loans?
You see what I'm saying?
You was a scoundrel. You're a terrible human being." So it's like this is what they do. They throw out a narrative of an anecdotal, whether it's true or not is irrelevant because once it's found out that it's not true, it doesn't matter. The story sits in you. So it's like Joe the plumber. It didn't matter that he wasn't true. It wasn't real. It seems like a plausible reality. Yeah. So I can still get behind this idea of Joe the plumber.
And that's dangerous. But that's why I'm glad that we have this space to be able to critically analyze because that's what they're trying to stop is critical analysis. Now,
thinking for self is something I sign up for every day of the week. Even if you disagree with me, man, I sign up for self-thinking.
So when I'm talking, essentially is what I'm saying is with the black feminism, they were being marionetted and gaslit by white feminists to say that, hey, racism is not big as sexism. Get off of that black liberation shit. That's why the last Black Power movement conference in Indiana was the last one in '72 with everybody there from Stokely.
And do the math.
Yeah.
Who stands to benefit the most from you thinking that way? Women. They're the larger percentage. So
and they jumped over and got all the affirmative action. And, they literally switched place with black men who were supposed to get it because we fought in the war. We were the freedmen. And they pulled the little black feminist thing, marionetted them like little Geppetto and Pinocchio. And they switched positions with them and they jumped over us because you got to understand, I always bring it to this. And we did an episode on Gentleman's History Hour where we featured and we talked about Reconstruction. And I read the Freedmen's Bureau letter. And I always go back to that 124 brothers signed that letter. The William Tecumseh Sherman and Lincoln asked them, what do you guys want when y'all help us win this war? We are the people that fought and bled. The whole point is they asked us, what do we want? And what we fleshed out in it was very important. You know what I'm saying? We told them what we needed to do to help our family. They understood that we were supposed to be right there. So when you're talking about wage gap, you remember you said, but look, I want to do something about the wages with black women.
Yeah.
The truth of it all is it was already negotiated to black men was supposed to be raised up next to white men and met so we can be able to take care of our family. What white women did was jumped into the mind of black women because they had a bedroom quarrel with white men and got us to fighting, and they leaped over us and took those freedmen's bureaus.
Yeah, and I think part of that too, right, is the miscommunication on whether they are going to support black folks, and specifically in that particular time, Reconstruction, and how that immediately eroded black men, and that miscommunication has allowed for a certain type of man to permeate through our DNA and take advantage of their situation, whether it's beating on women, misusing women, etc. They have propped up themselves in different spaces. Yeah. And we used to have a catalyst or a way of dealing with that in the community. Yeah. We used to root those men out. And we used to make them feel ostracized, uncomfortable, unwelcome, beat them up, etc. So And a lot of times, right, these men had mothers, etc., that fought to keep us off their ass.
Yeah.
And so we're not even allowed to police ourselves as men.
Yeah.
And that's important too, because when you talk about that discussion of not being able to police ourselves, then you have these whack-a-mole type of things that have nothing to do with the macro size.
Yeah.
It's I don't have a hand in choosing who you choose to fuck with.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm supposed to be responsible for the adverse effects of dealing with that person. That don't make sense. Then I should have a hand in saying who you deal with. Or I'm not involved at all. Which one is it?
Like I quoted in the paper that I wrote.
Yeah.
We have an artificial culture, and I back it up with saying social tinkering, tabulated demographer, racist bureaucrats. Right. I go through the whole panoply because I've been studying this shit since I was little. These are the little things from racist therapists to racist criminologists. That, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So our whole culture is manipulated, made up. The problem that we have, these certain type of stigmas.
And I think I talked about that in episode 1.
Yeah.
The pimp.
It came from that. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't originate in our community. That was a character in vaudeville.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wearing the fur coat, the pimp walk, the cane. That was something we adopted. That's not us.
So to swing it back around,
yeah, for sure.
What I'm essentially saying is white feminists pulled the wool over the eyes of black feminists. Some of them knew better, but they stand to benefit. What I'm saying is, and I was a little bit brusque and harsh on the last episode, but I stand by it 100%. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have a yellow belly, I have a silver back. What I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this.
I think that is about the most contrite you're going to ever see.
What I'm saying is this, that in this black male advocacy space, quit being a simp. And anybody that is versus you or against you, be hostile towards them. Don't just be hostile towards other black men and white men. You got to recognize that these certain women are not, you got to be hostile to everybody. This is how I feel. This is my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm going to take, in my closing remarks, I'm going to take the gender aspect out of it. When we listen in a rap, we are very vocal about anyone disrespect me, I'm gonna do whatever to him.
Yeah.
Where is that energy at your job? Where is that energy in your schooling? Where is that energy for the government? Like, it's so much you could, and I'm not advocating any type of violence toward a person, but what I'm saying is, where's that vitriol? Where's your tenacity for that? Because you're ready to show that to any brother. Yeah. A brother will show that to another brother real quick. Yeah. Where's that energy for the things that are really
victims of social tinkering
that are generationally oppressive? Where's your energy for that?
The energy is not there because we've been programmed to not do things like that. Yeah. But I guess this is what I'm saying: is black men liaise together. Be hostile towards anybody that's your enemy, and just get over it. Whether it's black, women, Mexican, because we gonna have episodes where I want to talk about insular immigrants, in particular Nigerians and Congolese, people who look like us, but get the benefits and take pictures of these Harvard pictures and acting like they're black, American black people to get the benefits and get the resources, but then go and shit on you and call you a cotter. But you know what I'm saying. Like we gonna deal with all that.
To create these
no. We got to because we got to underscore the colluding forces, all of it.
Well, we got to. And I'll say this though too. I feel as though the larger diaspora of African diaspora is becoming more aware of the Black American male condition. So it's not like I think it's worse than what it was, say, in 1980 and 1990. I don't believe that. I think people are becoming more aware and more united in that regard.
My views are more dystopian, but I'm gonna say this.
Without question,
I'm glad that we circled the loop on this because my goal is black men. Feminism is bad towards you. They mean no good for you. At the end of the day, when you go to the Black Lives Matter website, they wanted to restructure the family structure, to reimagine the man, woman, and child. They're not for that. They're all hostile towards men, in particularly the subaltern group, which are black men. And so whenever you have feminists in anything you're trying to do, they're going to try to undercut justice claim and stifle and stymie the movement. Keep in mind. Now, I'm saying this because I spent, since I was 20, taking feminist courses since I've been older, since my child's mother was a social worker, reading her books, saying that it's the social workers of feminist thinking. They have literally in every discipline a feminist view on this discipline. What I'm saying, it permeates in everything. But black men, feminism is not your friend in any shape, form. Last episode we pointed out socialism, feminism, all the different feminism. It don't matter because it's all feminism by any other color, like I quoted in my paper. Feminist by any other color.
Make sure you check out that paper too.
Smells just as odious. So beware that. The next episode's coming up. We're going to deal with polygamy.
And this is what he enjoys about me. So what I'm going to say is, disregard all of that. Where's your black maleism? That's or masculinity, however you define it, because there are going to be people who have different feelings toward their own energies. But where are you in the advocacy for yourself? That's what I want you to focus on, what you need to concentrate on. It's not the degradation or the omission of everything else. It's about including you. What do you think your goals should be? Start defining your narrative.
Yeah.
That's what's important. Don't let anybody else write your narrative but you.
So
If you want to build on with other brothers, get with other brothers.
Exactly.
And build. Absolutely.
Liaise with other brothers. So we're closing out this chapter because we did Masculinity 1, Masculinity 2, the Law of Covenanter, which is deep,
Yep.
feminism, and then black feminism.
We also touched masculine male toxicity too.
Yeah.
And the origins of that form.
Yeah, and
that
compensatory toxicity. Our producer EQ wants to do masculinity. I wanted to cover
Shout out to
these
our
things.
producer.
I wanted to cover these things because you don't know why people are moist and zesty, and we have a lot of things going on if you don't understand feminism. But you don't understand why what changes when women start what changes when women start getting educated. I'm not saying that I'm against women getting educated. I'm saying what are the reverberating effects or what are some of the consequences of women that are born in 1990 now not siring kids 50.1% according to the national data statistics. Why when women get educated the birth rate gets lowered. These are consequences that come with certain things. We're going to discuss all of that, but the brother EQ, we got to go into masculinity. We're going to deal with that. We're going to hammer that home, but you can't understand the feminization of black men or the feminization of a culture without understanding the rise and the inlet of women being in certain spaces and what that created.
And understand something too, that we're, without question, we not only are we going to differ here, we differ in our own personal lives, but what we are committed to is the same thing. It's the same destination.
We're in two different vehicles going to the same destination.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so also what we need from you guys is to comment, give your point of view, give your perspective, even on the place of what we should discuss in the future, right?
Yeah.
We need to hear from you because we need to know what's important to you. What are the things that are happening in your groups, like the organizations you belong to, the community groups you belong to? What are y'all talking about? Because that is important to us as well, and we want to make sure we bring that home. So we've been doing a lot of history, right, to give you the basis of where a lot of our thinkings are coming from, our positions. Yeah. But now we can get to the fun stuff and talk about some of these current events, right? And so we need to touch into that, and we know we've done it a few times tonight, but that's what we need from you. So don't just watch, don't just like, comment.
Exactly.
We need to hear from you. We want to see your thoughts.
And real quick, because I'm not a slouch, we're not slouches in what we do. Some of the sources, and look it up, we studied Karen Holmes, Joyce Williams, Ray Winconnell, Betty Friedan, Catherine Mackey, Alice Walker, Bell Hooks, Mary Wollstone, the first feminist, Jamie Pod, that's what we did the Law of Covenanter on. We did Michelle Wallace, Alice Walker, Barbara Smith. We covered everybody, Tony Morris, Terry McMillan, everybody. So you can't, with me, I really ensconce myself in the study, and we can talk. We can have a real conversation about it. But at the end of the day, I always look at what things are going and what it produces. We can sit and talk about feminism, but at the end of the day, my position is it's not your friends, black men.
It's not the friend of black women.
Exactly, and especially black women. But that wraps up.
Absolutely.
Episode 5 of the Safe House.
Absolutely.
I'm Brother Musab Yassir Bey, aka Freddy Jones, aka the Blue Collar Scholar.
And I'm Brother Interesting Man, and we look forward to getting your guys' feedback.
Church.